Alright guys, welcome back, and in this video I want to talk to you about file permissions in Linux. Now, I'll admit right now that this takes a little bit of time getting used to, but is definitely worth it. One of the most important concepts in Linux. So let me show you what the heck I'm talking about. So I'm just going to list the contents of this directory so we have some files to look at. Now, whenever we're looking at these files and directories, we can probably figure out most of this stuff. Okay, the name, the date, okay. I'm getting to this part right here. What the heck is this crap? Okay, I see a bunch of R, W, some minuses, and Ds. Okay, no idea what that is. Well, those are all the file permissions, and each file has its own permissions. So let's learn what all of these symbols mean, and I actually typed this right before this tutorial because this what I'm typing is just an easier way to see this. All I did is there are different sections of file permissions, and instead of having everything bunched together, I just added a space to space them out. So this first symbol, which would be either a minus or a D in all of these, what the first symbol means is if what you're looking at is a file, it's going to have a minus. If this thing is a directory, it's going to have a D. So you see that all of these are files, and like bacon right here, that's a file, and all of these are directories, movies, and other. So that's why the directories have a D and all the files have minuses. Alright, well that was easy, so let's go on to the next thing. Well, all of the stuff right here is actually pretty easy to understand once you understand that this isn't don't look at it as 9 different characters. It's actually broke up into 3 different groups. So 3, then 3, then 3. Now, the 3 letters that you can have or symbols are R, W, and X. So let's just break this down one group at a time. So for every file there are 3 things that you can do to it. You can read it, you can write it, or you can execute it. Now, we already know what reading and writing it means. Execute means if you ever have an executable, then you can do that too. So on a computer you have files, those are all the things that you can do to it. Alright, so those are the permissions for the file, but why do we have 3 different chunks? Don't we only need to give it one set of permissions? Well, I know I didn't talk to you guys about the owner of a file or groups or different users on the computer, but that's why you need 3 different ones. The first group are the permissions for the owner of the file. The second chunk of permissions right here is for the group, and this last one is for everyone else. So not the owner, not the group, just, like global regular users. So in this example right here, what this would mean is this would be for a file, since it has a dash or a hyphen, whatever you want to call it. The owner of the file can read, write, and execute it. The group can read and write it, but they can't execute it. And everyone else, all the normal users, they can just read it. So maybe this is something for like a file on a website. Those would be, a pretty good example of their permissions. And what I'm about to teach you right now is probably easier if you guys have a little cheat sheet to look at. So let me type this so when I'm explaining it, you guys can see what's going on. So the letter U is for user, and that would be the like the main owner of the file, the one that usually has the most privileges. So G, this stands for the group, and O, these are the people with usually the least privileges. These are just other people, and I'll say like from the outside world. So just keep these characters in mind right here, because now I want to teach you how you would, let me space this so you guys can see the whole thing. Alright, so what if we want to change the permissions for, let's say, this bacon file right here? So we want to say that we want to change it for normal users from the outside world, and right now, as we can see, they can only read the file. Well, let's say that we wanted to I don't know, have them be able to write it for some reason. Well, to change the permissions, use chmod, and then it takes 3 pieces of information. The first one is what group are you trying to change the permissions for? Well, we're just trying to change it for other people, the outside world, and then it's saying, okay, what do you want to do? Well, we just want to give them the right permission. And now it just takes what file, which is bacon, and check it out. So now if I do list L again, the outside world can now not only read the file like it was before, but they can also write it. Now, if you ever want to take those permissions away, write the group, what permissions you want to take away, and what file. So check it out. We just took it away. Now let me hit clear and clear that stuff out. Alright, that's simple enough, but imagine that you wanted to, change the permissions around for, I don't know, maybe the user, the group, and other people. That's going to take a bunch of commands, and, it's not going to take that long, maybe a minute, but we don't have time for that. So I'll show you guys the incredibly easy way, and I'll give you guys a little cheat sheet right here to easily set all of the permissions for every group at once, and you guys are going to love me after this. So I'll give you guys an example like a chmod. What you can do is something like 754 and then the file name, which is bacon. So in this order, I'll write 754 represents the individual permissions for, and I'll say in this order, yeah, I guess that's the best way to do it. So user, group, and other. So this first number right here is for the user, the second one is for the group, and the third one is for other. So, just kind of the way that you would think of it. So, alright, that was easy enough. So we're given 7 to the user, 5 to the group, 4 to the other. Alright, so what the heck do these numbers mean? Well, 4, I'll just say stands for read. Let me copy this so I don't have to type it again. Alright, so whenever you see the number 4, it stands for read. So we are giving others the ability to read this. Now 2, whenever you see a 2, even though it wasn't in this example, this means write. So if we were to change this to 2, then we would give the others the permission to write it. So let me change that back to 4. And whenever you see a 1, this stands for execute. And guys, I know that this is kind of overwhelming right now, but after you see this a couple times, you actually get the hang of it. And most people don't even understand what this is, so you guys are going to be like pros. Alright, so 4, whenever you see a 4, it means we're giving this group the ability to read. 2 means write, and 1 means execute. Now 0, why the heck aren't you typing? Because I got numlock on. Alright, 0 stands for no permissions. So anytime you would see a dash like before, that would just mean a 0. Alright, so that's simple enough. 0, 1, 2, or 4 for each individual group. But why is the 7 right here? What the heck is a 7? Well, this is the last thing I'm going to teach you, and this is where things get a little bit tricky. Whenever you see a 7, what you're doing is you're combining all of these numbers. So you can just give them, so for example, you can just give a group write permission, or you can just give them read permission, or what you can do is you can combine read and write, and that would be 6. Now, whenever we see a 7, that means for this group, they have read, write, and execute permission. So let's figure out what this thing means. It means we're going to change the privileges for bacon, or their permissions. So users, which is the first one, they have a 7, so they can read, write, and execute it. Alright, so group, they have a 5. So what adds up to a 5? Well, they can read and execute it. Alright, what about other people? Other people only have a 4. So that means that they can only read it. So I know that you're like sitting there and like, so, okay, I'm getting it now. Okay, that makes sense. Now, what you're going to see a lot is something like this. And if you ever see chmod 777, bacon, this means that you're giving every group all their permissions to read, write, and execute it. So that, like I said, is a pretty common one. 777 means let anyone do whatever they want with this file. But yeah, there you go. That's what all of the crap about file permissions are in Linux. Now you understand, so go out, hack some computers, change your permissions, do whatever you want. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.